Hello and welcome to this week's Bible study. My name is Dom. I'm the pastor of Ogmore-by-Sea Church. Brilliant that you're joining us, and I pray this will be a blessing to you. We're moving on from our series on what the Bible is all about, and we're having a look at some Psalms through the month of November. Today we're having a look at Psalm 13. It's written by David, who's famous for slaying the giant Goliath and being king of Israel, but he's also the author through whom the Spirit inspired him to write many of the Psalms which are found in our Bibles. And Psalm 13 is one written by David. And it begins with this heart cry of how long? And that's something that resonates within all of us right now, isn't it? In this situation where it just keeps going on, and we're thinking, how long is this going to be going on for? And in different ways we've expressed this frustration of how long do I have to bear with this? Well, David is speaking from a spiritual perspective. How long must I have this turmoil within my soul? How long? And he's not looking for information here, is he? Like children who are stuck in a car on a long journey and they keep on saying, are we nearly there yet? Even if you could tell them, as a matter of fact, that in 1 hour and 36 minutes and 15 seconds you arrive at your destination, that will not satisfy them because they're not looking for information. When they say, are we nearly there yet? They're venting their frustration. They want out, they're bored, they're cramped. And this question of how long here in Psalm 13 is expressing dissatisfaction. It's a deep yearning for change, for relief. And it's wonderful that Psalm 13 is in our Bibles, because at the very basic level, it teaches us to be honest before God. We don't have to put on a show. We don't have to pretend to be someone that we're not. The Lord knows what's on our hearts. He's numbered the very hairs on our heads. He knows us completely. He knows what we're going to pray even before the words leave our mouths. And so we don't need to put on a show. We come honestly and humbly before him, and we bring it to him. And where David was at, and maybe where you're at, is just crying out, how long is this going to be? Not looking for information, just honestly venting frustration at the Lord, who can honestly take it because he's big enough and he loves us. This psalm has 3 sections in it. The first, in verses 1 and 2, is this frustration, and then moving on, it moves on to petition, and then thirdly, it moves on to confession. So we've looked at frustration in verses 1 and 2, and you can dig more into that in the Bible study notes and the questions that I sent out. But then the petition in the age of the internet today, I'm used to getting sent various petitions where I'll be invited to add my name to a long list to send off to some authority trying to make a change. We're used to that, aren't we? And here David is petitioning God. He moves from a cry of frustration to crying for help. He's petitioning the Lord. He doesn't just say, well, I feel rubbish, everything's going wrong and there's nothing that anybody can do about it. No, he knows that the Lord is able to help, that he can do immeasurably more than all we can ask or imagine, that the Lord is gracious and compassionate, that he will hear his child calling to him. So David asks for the Lord to look and to answer, and you can work through exactly what it is in there. But the point is this: we can cry out to the Lord in times of need. Prayer is powerful because our loving God is almighty. So when everything seems hopeless, there is always hope in Jesus. We can always come to him, and he is more than able to help us in whatever situation. We see that time and time again in the Bible. And then the third section of this wonderful psalm is one of confession. We usually think of confession in terms of owning up to the wrongs that we've committed, how we've messed up. But confession just means telling the truth. So there is that side where we own up to the truth of who we are and how we've got things wrong, but it's also confessing the truth of who God is, and therefore the great hope, the great joy that we have in him, that isn't dependent on our current circumstances. We see that. It lifts David from the gloom. It raises his eyes beyond the immediate danger to see the glorious wonder of God himself and the future that he has by grace through trusting in him. But that word that changes everything, the turning point in verse 5, but I trust in your unfailing love. Considering all that David has already said and mentioned, the danger he's in, but I trust in your unfailing love. My heart rejoices in your salvation. I will sing the Lord's praises, for he has been good to me. Now, maybe the question, how long, is spilling out of your heart right now. I hope that God really speaks to you in this psalm. Maybe you can memorize this psalm. I urge you to apply the lessons found in it to all of your praying, but also store up the lessons specifically to when you need to pray in times of need. This is a glorious psalm, and it has a particular shape to it, of course. It begins, you could visualize it by kneeling on the floor with your head on the ground, in pieces as it were, saying how long in desperation and frustration. But then it moves from there to kneeling upright with your hands out, asking of the Lord, crying out for help, and then finally confessing the truth of who God is and the hope that we have in him, then standing up with your arms outstretched. Maybe you could use that in your praying this week and store it up for times of need. God bless.